Let me start today's podcast with a scenario. Our team is working harder than usual. There is activity everywhere and still something does not move. Deadlines stretch, decisions take longer than they should, work comes back for rework. No one says it out loud, but you can feel it. Something is off. If you have led teams long enough, you have seen this. On the surface, it looks like productivity issues. Maybe people need more clarity, maybe they need better tools, maybe they need to move faster. So we respond accordingly. We introduce new platforms, we push for quicker execution, we start experimenting with AI. And for a while, it feels like progress. But then, the outcomes do not really change. That is where the discomfort begins. I have been noticing this pattern more closely, not just within a single team or setup, but also through conversations with peers and the blogs and articles I have been reading. We keep trying to fix what looks like an individual problem, but the problem is rarely individual. It sits somewhere deeper in how work is actually flows, in how decision gets made, in who owns what, and when that ownership really shows up. There is an invisible layer that shapes all of this. You will not find it in process documents. You will not see it in org charts, but it is always there. Think about the last time someone stayed late to finish a deliverable. It gets labeled as commitment, but if you look closely, it is usually compensation. Something upstream did not work the way it should have. Information did not flow on time. A decision came late. Clarity was missing. The system allowed the defect. The individual absorbed the cost. And now we are seeing the same thing with AI. We bring in automation expecting speed. We expect efficiency to follow. But what actually happens? Every output needs checking. Every summary needs validation. Every decision still needs context. The work does not disappear. It shifts, and in many cases, it expands. So, we end up with more activity, but not necessarily better outcomes. Here is the uncomfortable part. Most systems are not broken. They are working exactly as they are designed to, even when the outcomes are not what anyone intended. So, when productivity does not improve, the instinct is to push harder, train people more, enforce usage, add another layer of tools, but that is effort applied on top of the same system. And effort on a misaligned system only amplifies friction. A systems lens leads us to a different question. Not why are people not productive, but what in this system makes productivity difficult? What does the workflow actually look like? Where does work slow down? Where does it come back? Where does ownership become unclear? And most importantly, what would need to change for effort to actually translate into outcomes? Because productivity is not something individuals create on their own. It is something the system allows or prevents. And once you start seeing it that way, a lot of things begin to make sense. I have been exploring this idea in more depth in my recent newsletter, not from a theory lens, but from what it actually looks like inside organizations. If this feels familiar, you may find it worth reading.